Football is the most popular sport in the world. Even if we football fans are well aware of this, it's always a good idea to look at the data to back it up. The World Cup is the most prestigious football competition, and it has included some of the most watched football matches ever, with the most recent 2018 World Cup in Russia being watched by more than 3.572 billion people, just 30 million fewer than the Olympics. Actually, football's only spectator opponent is the Summer Olympics, which include practically every sport. This should put an end to any debate regarding football's popularity. Football is, in fact, a drama, a magnificent, enduring drama with a watchful audience that closely follows each turn and twist. We have some of the most watched football matches in the world because viewers tune in to see what happens when the competition reaches its peak intensity, whether at the international or club level. Even though the most watched football matches in history have typically been World Cup matches, we've tried to compile a list that also includes a variety of club matches. Hello and welcome to ZizoX for Football channel, a channel where you can find everything about football players, football info, clubs, matches and more, and as always don't forget to subscribe, like and share for more amazing videos. Now let's get back to our first match on our list. Derby di Milano 2017. Due to exceptional circumstances, the Milan Derby in April 2017 became one of the most viewed soccer matches of all time. The match's kickoff time was moved to satisfy fans in Asia, particularly China, where Internationale's owners are from. The result was that the game was anticipated to be broadcast to 860 million viewers, of which more than 500 million were in Asia. However, the actual number of peak views may be much lower and in the range of 70 to 100 million, similar to El Clasico, making this one of the most watched soccer matches of all time. Even while it wasn't particularly significant in the title chase, the match itself was enjoyable as usual. The Nerazzurris managed to score 2 goals despite having less ball possession than Inter in the first half of the game. In the 36th minute, Antonio Candreva managed to score, and just before halftime, Internazionale captain and star Mauro Icardi scored like he frequently did in Derby Milano. The match was one of the most watched soccer matches in the world, but Milan controlled the second half. Their centre-back Romagnoli scored a goal to tie the score in the 83rd minute, but Milan's other centre-back Zapata managed to score an extremely late goal to tie the game 7 minutes into injury time, giving Inter a loss of 2 points. Unquestionably a thrilling conclusion to a derby and one of the most watched football games ever. El Clasico 2020. El Clasico is one of the most political rivalries in football and one of the oldest, as Real Madrid and Barcelona are both closely connected to the Spanish government's central government, which is inherently hostile to Catalan interests. In fact, the rioting Catalans were starting against the national government last season caused one of the most watched soccer matches in the world to be postponed. On the field, though, things look very different because these two clubs frequently include the most thrilling footballing superstars in the world. It was anticipated that 650 million people would watch their farewell match in March 2020, although the actual number of viewers could be closer to 70 to 100 million on average, making it the most watched soccer match of the previous season, aside from the Champions League final. The customary rivalry between Ronaldo and Messi, which has made this match even more entertaining to watch in recent years, was absent from the actual game, but the tension's still there as both teams were aiming to win the La Liga once more. Real nonetheless defeated Barcelona 2-0 despite playing poorly in the opening half. In the second half though, Zidane's team came back with just one objective, and that was to win the match in front of the Madrid fans, and they managed to do so. Vinicius Jr. was undoubtedly the star of the match by scoring a goal and looking a threat throughout the game. Mariano scored Real Madrid's second in the last minute, bringing a fitting entertaining end to one of the most football match in the world. 2018 Champions League Final. The strongest teams in Europe participate in the Champions League each year, first in playoffs, then in groups, and finally in the knockout rounds. The UCL is most popular during the knockout stages, when the 16 top teams in Europe compete against one another in frequently thrilling pairings that bring competition favorites together well before the championship game. But the UCL trophy fight between the two finest teams in Europe in the final is where everything comes to a head for football fans. While it's important to note that viewing has increased due to the virus outbreak and this year's final may very well be the most seen, we must stick to the facts because the precise amount of views from the 2019-20 Champions League final hasn't been released. The 2017-18 UCL final between Real Madrid and Liverpool, with 380 million viewers, was the most viewed soccer match in the history of club tournaments, according to the statistics. The game pitted Real Madrid's most recent golden generation against Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool, who were only starting to make their mark. Football supporters who dislike Real Madrid fiercely supported Liverpool in the championship game because they thought the Reds had a chance to break Galactico's record of 3 consecutive European Championship victories. But Liverpool failed to do so as Real went on to beat them with the help of Liverpool's keeper and the super sub, Gareth Bale, who managed to score 2 incredible goals with one being a bicycle kick. A record was set as Real Madrid and their manager Zinedine Zidane managed to win UCL for the 3rd consecutive year with the help of their Galacticos. Cristiano Ronaldo was chief among them as he scored 15 goals in the competition and at times dragged his team to the final. This would also be his last match in Real Madrid shirt that also became the most watched football match in the world. World Cup Final of 2010. Given that it is the most significant contest in a 4-year span of the most popular sport in the world, there is simply no competition for the World Cup Final as the most viewed football match in the entire world. The competition itself, as we stated at the opening of this post, is only narrowly surpassed by the Summer Olympics. The Netherlands and Spain squared off in the 2010 World Cup Final as 2 of the giants of European football. Undoubtedly, this was total football at its very best. As contrast to Spain's tiki-taka football, which was a new approach to the concept of total football, the Dutch were playing total football in their own way. Given that their clubs dominated Europe at the time and they won the Euro 2008 championship, there is no doubt that this was the golden generation of Spanish football. The Dutch team, led by Van Berwijt and featuring players like Van Persie, Robben, and Sneijder, was also incredibly strong as they advanced to the finals by defeating Brazil in the quarterfinals. With 909.6 million viewers for at least 1 minute and more than 610 million for the final 20 minutes of the game, the two sides' matchup in Soccer City Stadium would rank among the most viewed football games in history. Both teams played attacking football in the game, with Spain having a slight advantage in possession and chances, but no team was able to break through the opposition's defense, so the score remained 0-0 in the regular time. Arjen Robben missed 2 one-on-one opportunities against Iker Casillas, which proved to be their undoing as Fabregas assisted Andres Iniesta in scoring moments later in the game's 116th minute and giving La Rojas World Cup champions for the first time ever, in what was one of the most watched football games ever. World Cup Final of 2014. Argentina and Germany squared off in the 2014 World Cup Final. The first 2 meetings between the two teams, in the competition's finals in the World Cups of 1986 and 1990, each team winning a game, took place in those years. With Lionel Messi, probably the greatest football player of all time, and a number of other elite players on their team, Argentina had high expectations. With nearly 1 billion people watching for at least 1 minute and 695 million people watching the final 20 minutes of the game, the final received more attention than it did in 2010. But while Argentina battled to defeat the Netherlands on penalties to advance to the finals, Germany had an entirely different story. Germany managed to beat the hosts and winning favorites Brazil 7-1 in the semi-final, absolutely dismantling the World Cup champions record holders and breaking every Brazilian heart. Germany played much more quietly than they did in their semi-final since Argentina created the majority of the game's opportunities. However, despite having one of the most potent attacking trios at the time, Higuaín, Agüero, and Messi, Argentina was unable to score. Numerous fine chances were missed by Messi and, more significantly, by Higuaín, and the game concluded in a score of 0-0. The additional time began after that. Germany unexpectedly shocked Argentina in the 113th minute of the game when a cross found teenager Mario Götze, who had just come off the bench, and he skillfully knocked it past Romero and into Argentina's goal, crowning Germany world champions in the process, one of the most watched football match in the world. 2016 Euro Final. It is not surprising that the final of Europe's continental tournament is one of the most watched football games in history, given that it plays host to some of the most formidable football teams in the world, both at the club and international levels. Portugal, a squad that struggled to advance from its group and didn't win a single game in the regular season leading up to the final, faced off against France, the favorite and the host, in this specific final. Cristiano Ronaldo was the only player on both teams who had previously played in the final and was at the height of his powers at the time, therefore Portugal's only chance of winning the Euros rested entirely on his shoulders. Their aspirations were dashed when Dimitri Payet's tackle injured Ronaldo, forcing him to leave the field in tears. The team that Portugal was left playing against had a lot of skill in every position, especially the offensive ones. This final went into extra time, much like the previous 2 items on this list. After defeating the World Cup champions, Germany, in the semi-finals, France was confident and determined to win it in extra time. However, their hopes were dashed when Portugal's substitute in the extra time panned off and the new boy Eder scored, making Portugal the European champions in one of the most watched football matches ever, with over 600 million viewers. 2018 World Cup Final. France's 2016 heartbreak didn't last very long as they, as one of the strongest teams in the world, got even stronger and won their way over Argentina, Uruguay and Belgium to reach the final of the 2018 World Cup to face the competition's surprise package, Croatia, who had a much easier route to the final but managed to upset England and the hosts Russia in the knockout stages. This was the most watched football game in history, a game that happened in Luzhniki Stadium in Moscow and with Nestor Pitana as the referee, and it was a very open game as the two teams loved to play attacking football. Croatia started the game very well, but France hit back when Mandzukic scored an own goal. Croatia then set out to draw the game and they managed to do so in the 29th minute. French talents Pogba, Griezmann and Mbappe all scored over the remaining minutes of the game, while Mandzukic was able to pull one back for Croatia in the 69th minute to make the final score 4-2 in favor of France. The tournament's favorite team, Croatia, was humiliated, but everyone praised France for their gallant and entertaining performance. The 2018 World Cup final was the most viewed football match in history with over 1.12 billion viewers, and it will likely hold that title until the next World Cup because no other match has come close to matching its viewership total. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy, and as always don't forget to subscribe, like and share for more amazing videos. Tell us what is the match you liked most in comment section.